Good morning. This is Daily Hebrew Declarations with Daniel Jedediah Cook, and I'm reading the declaration for today, January the 19th, 2021. The three Hebrew letters we're honoring today are Mem, Kuf, and Shin. Along with those three living letters, we're also honoring the spirit of understanding, the spirit of counsel, and the spirit of might. The declaration today reads this: there may be chaos on the surface of a stormy sea, but deep down into the depths of the water is the mysteries of life in Yahweh. Through these depths, he raises us up to be set apart to be holy, as the 24 elders cast their crowns before the thrones. Revelations 4:10. We also identify with them, the 24 elders that is, that our crowns are in him, our Messiah, and our Yeshua. Now, today's declaration really fits in with a lot of what I've been hearing Yahweh speaking lately. You know, you guys have heard me talking about the fire. We've talked about the water, and we've talked about several different things that have kind of a dual action going on. And Michelle, without her even really knowing that, really began to compile a couple of things together here that really fit in the midst of the word of Yahweh for today. You see, when we look at the word chaos, when we have to go back to the original scripture to find out a little bit more about what that word chaos literally means. Now, in the King James version, there is no specific interpretation of the word chaos specifically, at least the word itself, but there is the concept of chaos right there in the very beginning of Genesis. And specifically, it's talking about the place where the earth and the creation was formless and void. Well, those two words right there basically talk about the Hebrew concept for chaos. Those two words are tohu vavohu, or tohu and bohu. Seems like kind of a funny name, but it's a perfect description of exactly what's going on in the midst of this. Tohu being formless and bohu being that of void. The picture here is one where you got to kind of remember what was going on during the time. First off, let me start there. You have to kind of remember what was going on, and as far as in Genesis, as far as in, Moshe was the one who wrote Genesis. But not only that, but even as time progressed and the Babylonians and the Greek began to see exactly what the Hebrew people were talking about, it suddenly brought in a whole new concept for them that they had never known before. Because to them, the whole idea behind chaos was that the world itself and creation itself was formed out of this place of the midst of chaos. So, in other words, that creation happened as an accident through this midst of chaos, and that eventually it would go right back to chaos again. So, we're talking about, I mean, think about it. We look at the current model for science, and science basically says the same thing, that it started in chaos. We've got this little blip in the middle where life came into existence, and then it's going to go back into chaos at the end of all of this. But that's not what Scripture talks about, because Scripture talks about what the place of Zimzum, this place where Yahweh Himself spoke and created in Himself to place creation into the place where he could, where really we've always been in him. Because creation, the concept of Zimzum talks about the fact that Yahweh took a veil, if you will, and spiraled it over the vast expanse of himself. And he created a place that was tohu vavohu, formless and void. Now, the rest of him was still him. So the whole, from the very, very beginning, all of creation was found inside of him. And in that place, he began to speak creation. He took out of the intent of his heart and he placed a dot. He placed a yud in the very center of that. Well, that moment that he pulled that intent of his heart, that photon from his heart, and drew it and placed it into the middle of the void that he had just now, the tohu and bohu, the tohu vavohu that he created, the formless and void place inside of him, he literally created a vav at the same time. In other words, he placed this light in the center of the creation and it began to expand and inflate, and it formed everything in creation that we now see. But from the very beginning, there was always a connection back to the Father. Always. See, the Yud became a Vav and connected heaven to earth. It connected the place of us. But yet in this place of formless and void, we began to lose sight of the fact of that connection. We've always had that connection. That connection has always been there. Yahweh has always said to his sons, I love you. You are a part of me. I created you from me. I formed you in the earth from me. You see, it's in this place that Yahweh begins to create. And it was in the place of chaos. Now, when Michelle wrote this declaration today, I asked her, I said, do you realize exactly what you're saying here? Because the first part of the declaration today says, there may be chaos on the surface of a stormy sea, but deep down into the depths of the water are the mysteries of life in Yahweh. I've kind of been describing a few of those mysteries of life right there. But through these depths, he raises us up to be set apart, to be holy. Okay, and I said, do you realize what you're saying? He's taking us down into the depths to learn of these mysteries, to bring us right back up to the chaos. Yeah. It seems kind of funny that you're saying that, but hold on a minute. There's another way that we can see that chaos. You remember when I talked about just a moment ago how Yahweh took of himself and he spiraled a garment? So in a sense, let's look at it from a slightly different perspective. Let's say the expanse of himself was water now. All right, the waters above, if you will. He takes his finger and he places that finger into the center of the pool and he begins to swirl that pool. Yahweh's hand from the very beginning had initiated and brought about this place of what appeared to be chaos was the hand of his finger that was stirring the waters to bring these things together, to begin a movement, to begin a flow, to begin something to be able to create. In order for you to be able to move and to go somewhere, there has to be movement. In order for there to be time, there has to be space and there has to be distance. Without the two, space and time, as Einstein has discovered, is part of the same thing, space-time. You can't have one without the other, because the more space you have, the more time it takes you to go from point A to point B, right? Well, think about the same thing as Yahweh then begins to spiral inside of the expanse of himself. He was creating this place of time. He was creating this place of movement. But now, does that mean that we are bound by time because we are in that place of the creation inside of him? Now, today's declaration is a very, very deep declaration, so you may have to come back and listen to this one over and over again. And if you have any questions with regards to the way that I'm describing this, please reach out and let me know. But to me, I'm beginning to see this place of Yahweh then instituting time in the midst of that. See, the beautiful thing about it is, remember, the one thing that remained constant, the fact that when he withdrew his light from out of the intent of his heart, and he placed it inside of the matrix, in the center of the expanse that he had just now created himself, he created a consistent connection to him. So in other words, are we bound by time? Well, no, I'm not bound by time. I operate in time because I have to get up every morning. I want to do these declarations every single morning. I want to spend the time being able to dig in, excuse me, and dig into the things of Yahweh. Excuse me, y'all. I want to be able to take the time to understand him more. I want to see him face to face. I want these times to be able to accomplish goals. But yet at the same breath, I'm not bound by that time because there's always a connection in with the Father. There's always that connection to him. There's always that place where I stand outside of time. Because if I am in him and he is in me, and Yahweh himself is multidimensional, and Yahweh himself is beyond time, I'm beyond time. In him, through him, with him, I am beyond time. So, in other words, I can use both time and the fact that I am in him and beyond time together as one. I can use what seems to be chaos to really begin to say to Yahweh, Hineni, here am I to do what you are asking to do. Here am I to fulfill the very desires of your heart as I can do this for you.